part 3 and final part of when I was hit by a car. So when I got to the hospital, then they pulled back the curtain and I was able to see my sister. I was very much relieved because when I initially saw her after she was hit, she was just kind of like laying there, and I didn't know like if she passed. I didn't know what I just didn't know like how bad it was. So it turns out she ended up, actually we both walked away pretty good. She ended up straining her neck with a concussion, and then she again had like cuts and bruises like throughout her body, which was definitely understandable. She did have some gravel embedded in her scalp that had to be like removed. And then finally for myself, so when I had went down like head first and I put my arms out, apparently I had one out more than the other. Regardless, it probably wouldn't have made much of a difference. And I broke my wrist, which, I mean, the way how big my wrist was, it was pretty understandable. And so I had broken it to where I needed surgery. So, which that kind of comes in a little bit. But anyways, so then after that had happened, my family all was coming in, taking turns, saying like, they're so sorry. Like, they're so grateful that we're okay. They're so happy, you know, and I'm again, just like, what in the world is going on? Like, so shocked, so confused. Anyways, and so my sister had to stay the night in the hospital overnight. And then I had to have surgery the next day in a different city. So I actually had to go, it was like a 40-minute drive, I think. And then like I ended up having to have surgery the next day in a different city to fix my wrist. And then the lady, as far as I know, she was doing pretty good. It's been 15 years now, so I'm sure she's passed by now, but I think it was just like her blood pressure was really elevated, obviously, and she just, the whole thing was freaking everybody out, so I get it. So then after everything had happened, I remember that night vividly, I was in so much pain. The pain finally kicked in, and I just remember all night long, it felt like my bones were rubbing against each other, and they very much were. It was so painful. And I just remember like waking my poor grandma up, because my grandma was taking care of me because my mom was at the hospital with my sister. So I just remember waking my poor grandma up crying, and my grandma was trying to keep my wrist elevated. It was just a mess. But I will say the support we had after was phenomenal. I had friends coming and they're bringing me things. I had a bunch of cards that friends were making me. I ended up with pink cast, which I thought was like the coolest thing ever at the time, because when you're 11, you can have all your friends sign your cast. And I was like, yay, whatever. And that was the summer before I went to 6th grade. So by the time I went to 6th grade, I actually didn't even have my cast on anymore. And it was literally like nothing ever happened. But now, long story short, I am very precautious about going across the road